Australia's journey to World T20 2021, where the World Cup will be held in the United Arab Emirates. Now, Australia, they are on their hunt for their first World T20 title, and T20 World Cup started in 2007 in South Africa, where Australia were led by their wicketkeeper batsman Adam Gilchrist. Australia made it all the way to the semi-finals, but then they lost to Team India, where they ran into a blitz of a knock by Yuvraj Singh, who scored 70 of 30 deliveries to help India put on a mammoth total to beat Australia by 15 runs. In 2009, Australia were led by Ricky Ponting in England, but Australia, they had a torrid time. They had a torrid time as they lost both their group games to West Indies and Sri Lanka. They ran into the Gale storm where Brett Lee was demolished by Chris Gale as West Indies chased down 170, and then Australia posting 159. Sri Lanka, they were cruising with the masterclass of Kumar Sangakkara scoring an unbeaten 55 of 42 deliveries. In 2010, World Cup then shifted into the Caribbean, where the World Cup was held in West Indies and they were led by Michael Clarke. Australia went all the way to the finals as they were runners-up to England. In 2010, Australia had a superb time of it as they beated Bangladesh and Pakistan in the group stage. They went to the Super 8 and beated India, West Indies and Sri Lanka. They were unbeaten until the finals, but then they were outclassed by England, where they lost the finals by 7 wickets and England had 18 balls to spare. In 2012, World Cup then moved to Sri Lanka, where Australia were captained by George Bailey, and Australia made it all the way to the semi-finals, where they were then brutally demolished by the West Indies. They ran into the Gale storm once again, but this time with the help of Pollard power. Chris Gale scored 75 of 41 deliveries, and Pollard, an unbeaten 38 of 15, helped West Indies score in excess of 200. And then the fiery Ravi Rampal, who took 3 for 16, allowed West Indies to win by 74 runs, despite Shane Watson being player of the tournament that year. In 2014, things got horribly worse for George Bailey as he captained the team yet again in Bangladesh, but this time Australia were knocked out in the group stage. Australia only won one group stage game in Bangladesh against the hosts, but then they lost to India, Pakistan and West Indies. We then saw George Bailey losing the T20 captaincy. In 2016, Australia were then led by Steve Smith in India, where they were again knocked out in the group stage. Australia lost to India and New Zealand, but they had a couple of victories where they beated Bangladesh and Pakistan. Now we can fast forward to 2021, where World Cup is now being held in the UAE, and Australia, they'll be led by Aaron Finch, their opening batsman. He's the captain, and the squad members include Ashton Agar, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, Josh English, Mitchell Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, Kane Richardson, Stephen Smith, Mitchell Marsh, Mitchell Stark, Marcus Stoinis, Matthew Wade, David Warner and Adam Zampa. Now let's have a look at Australia's T20 squad right here, starting with the captain. Aaron Finch in his career has scored in excess of 2,000 runs with an average above 35, a strike rate a touch above 150 and 14 scores above 50. He's played 76 matches for the Aussies with a brutal 172 versus Zimbabwe. Now Aaron Finch in 2021, he hasn't been that prolific, where he's only scored 324 runs at a good average, but now his strike rate is down to a touch below 130, and his last international series, which would have been against the West Indies, he scored 127 runs at an average of 25.4 and a strike rate of 122.2. So his strike rate in 2021 hasn't been as prolific as his career strike rate, and Finch will be hoping to turn that around for the World Cup. So how will Aaron Finch go in the 2021 World Cup? Next is his partner in crime, David Warner. David Warner has scored above 2,000 runs with an average above 30 and a strike rate of 140. He has 19 scores above 50, which is sensational, and a best of 100 from his 80 matches. David Warner has been superb for Australia over his T20 career. However, in 2021, he hasn't been that prolific, as David Warner has only scored 197 runs at an average of 24.4 in the IPL at a strike rate of 107. That's insane for the David Warner that we know. But he hasn't played any international cricket for Australia this year, and we're eager to see what Warner will bring to the table in this World Cup edition. So how will David Warner fare in this World Cup? Next, to look at is Australia's fast bowling trio, Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood. Mitchell Starc, who recently took 50 wickets against Bangladesh in that T20 series down in Bangladesh, he averages just about 21.8 and a strike rate of 18, which means he takes a wicket every 3 overs. Only has 2 3-fers in his T20 career thus far and a best of 3 for 11. Pat Cummins, the vice captain of the team, a little bit better than Starc in terms of his average and strike rate and economy as well, picking up 37 wickets at a strike rate of 17.84 and an average of 20.6. Josh Hazlewood, who has been taking part in the IPL 2021, who's recently started his T20 career, he's relatively new to T20, has played 17 matches, has picked up 21 wickets at an average of 25. But Josh Hazlewood might just be the key fast bowler for Australia this World Cup, as he has played 8 IPL games so far, both in India and in the UAE, where he's averaged 29.3 and have a strike rate of 20.66. Hazlewood has been bowling fantastic with the new ball, and he's also played 8 matches this year in 2021, picking up 12 wickets at an average of 16.75 and a strike rate of 15.33. Excellent strike rate and average there by Josh Hazlewood. And so, how will Australia's seamers cope in this T20 World Cup edition? Now, the big question that Australia will have to answer is the toss-up for number 3. Now, Mitchell Marsh has been batting at number 3 recently, but Steve Smith in his career has been quite good. Steve Smith has a batting average of 27.4, having scored in excess of 700 runs and 450s from his 45 games. Mitchell Marsh, just about 700 runs, just about similar strike rate, same 450s as Steve Smith, but look at Mitchell Marsh in 2021 batting at number 3. He averaged 40.6 and all his half centuries has come at number 3. So the big question for Australia to answer is, who should they bat at number 3? Should it be Steve Smith or will it be Mitchell Marsh? Now, looking at Australia's spin trio, we have Ashton Agar, Adam Zampa and Mitchell Swepson. Mitchell Swepson is relatively new to international cricket. He's recently started playing in 2020, only played 7 games, but he's already picked up 11 wickets at an average of 15.7 and a strike rate of 12.6. Adam Zampa, his senior partner there, has picked up 52 wickets at an average of 23.4 and a strike rate of 20.1. Now, Adam Zampa's number is not too much different from Ashton Agar. Agar picking up 42 wickets at an average of 21.69 and a strike rate of 19.29. We might argue that Ashton Agar has relatively better numbers in comparison to Adam Zampa. And with Ashton Agar being a left-arm spinner, Zampa and Swepson both being leg spinners, they all turn the ball the same way. So the big question for their captain Aaron Finch is, who will be Australia's first choice spinner starting against South Africa? Now, to look at Australia's engine room, we have Glenn Maxwell and Marcus Stoinis. Glenn Maxwell has had a superb career so far, averaging in excess of 30, a strike rate above 150, 1,500 plus runs, 12 scores above 50 from his 72 games. Marcus Stoinis, Australia's key finisher, has above 300 runs at an average above 25 and a strike rate above 130. But Stoinis more so has better numbers in IPL, where he has in excess of 800 runs, striking a touch better at 138. But the key thing to look at for Australia is Maxwell's heroic in IPL 2021. Now, Glenn Maxwell has scored 513 runs at a whopping average of 42.75 and a strike rate of 144 with 6 scores above 50. He's outplayed the likes of Virat Kohli, AB de Villiers and Devdutt Padikkal. Glenn Maxwell has had a sensational run in the IPL, and he might just be Australia's key if they're to have a chance of sniffing their first World T20 title. So here we predict now our possible starting 11. Australia may look to start with David Warner and Aaron Finch, Steve Smith at 3, Glenn Maxwell at 4, Mitchell Marsh at 5, Marcus Stoinis at 6, the wicketkeeper Matthew Wade at 7, Pat Cummins the vice captain at 8, and then we know of course the 3 bowlers being selected, the Mitchell Starc, Adam Zampa and Josh Hazlewood. Australia kickstart their World Cup campaign against South Africa on October 23, 2021 at Abu Dhabi, and then they have England, West Indies and a couple other teams to play that they will know after the qualifiers round have finished taking place. Australia, however, do have 2 warm-up games, one against India and one against Afghanistan, October 18 and October 20. Now, Australia have lost their last 5 T20 series, having lost 4-1 to West Indies and 4-1 to Bangladesh. So, the big question is, how far will Australia go in this World Cup edition as Aaron Finch and his team seek Australia's first World T20 title? So leave your comment. How far do you think Australia will go in this year's T20 World Cup?